Hello guys, today we are going to be talking about water yam, Dioscorea alata. I want you to understand that water yam is one very important yam but has been very underestimated and underrated. Today, you are going to be looking at my 5 top reasons why I love to plant water yams in my farm. So let's get started. My number 1 reason why I love to plant water yam is the fact that it is relatively very easy for me to get seed to plant. So you don't need any unique seed particularly to plant water yam. What do I mean by that? You can get the tuber of any particular variety of water yam because there are several varieties. There are ones that are short, there are some that are very long. It depends on the one you choose. Any one you have chosen and you like, all you need to do is to split the tuber into sets of relatively about say 200 gram to 500 gram. That particular set you will dry for about, some people treat with ash, the cut surfaces, and air dry for about 24 hours before they plant. Now let me tell you something unique about that water yam set that you are going to plant. Unlike several other yams or species of yams like the yellow yam, the white yam, the interesting thing about water yam is that it can sprout from any part of the body, whether the tail, the body, or even the head. It has the propensity to sprout from any part. That's what makes it unique. And so when you take any part of water yam, there is a very high chance that there's going to be germination. In fact, germination of any water yam seed that you get is almost 100%. That is my number 1 reason. So I don't have problems with looking for seed. My number 2 reason why I like planting water yam is that any particular type of soil can go for water yam. It is important that you plant in soil that have very high nutrient content. But one thing about water yam is that anywhere you see to plant water yam, anywhere goes. It means that whether it is low fertility, high fertility, you don't really need to be afraid as far as you can gather your soil, and of course that's a go. Another very unique thing in this regard why I like to plant water yam is still my number 2, is that it is very drought resistant, because water yam has very high moisture content, and because of that it has its own water to sustain it even during drought period. So you can plant any time of the year and your water yam relatively will still do well because it has its own moisture content. Granted that there are times where you have to plant in certain seasons or thereabout, just like any other type of yam, but drought resistant is something that water yam is really known for. So that's my number 2 reason for planting water yam. My number 3 reason why I like to plant water yam is the nutritional value, the nutritional content of water yam. I know we all know that yams basically they are carbohydrate giving food, but I want you to know that you still have some protein content in water yam. One thing I have discovered, and you can also cross-check, you can also Google it and you ascertain what I'm saying now, that water yam has a higher protein content compared to white yam. If white yam is having, let's say, 4 parts of protein content, water yam will be having 7. And so that's what I have discovered, and it really endeared me to water yam. And again, apart from that, it has very high potassium content. And for those who know the importance of potassium in our body, for those who are diabetic, even those who have high blood pressure and all that, potassium is a very important component part that can help to regulate these 2 conditions. Of course, water yam has very high potassium content. That is one of the reasons why I really like it. And if you ask me, it's one of the yams that I eat most compared to other yams. That's just a little secret I'm letting out. So that's why in my farm, you will always find water yam because of my love for it, because of this point. Several years ago, before I started really going into water yam, a friend of mine advised me. I was very reluctant about it. But he now drew my attention to this number 4 point I want to raise, that water yam has very high yield when compared to even white yam. And I was shocked. I decided to give it a try until I started with just few tubers of water yam the very first year. The next year, my barn was full. So I want you to understand that water yam has very high yield. If you are starting with a tuber, trust me, the next season you are going to have several tubers, because it comes out with usually more than 2-3 sprouts sometimes. And each heap, you will not get anything less than 2-3 tubers, sometimes even 4 per heap. And you planted something that is just between 200 gram to 500 gram. So, friend, start to farm water yam. You know why? Because the yield is usually very high when compared to other set of yams. I'll show you something that will amaze you in this very video.
Alright, I decided to choose a random heap for me to harvest. I don't really know what I was going to really see inside the heap, so I just chose a random heap to demonstrate how very prolific water yam can be in terms of yield. So one important thing you also need to take note of, let me just use one stone to kill two birds. In trying to harvest water yam, just like we have demonstrated with yellow yam, you must be very careful trying to harvest water yam. Actually, what happens is that it combines the growth pattern of both the white yam and the yellow yam. Sometimes it can grow sideways, so you need to be very careful. And sometimes it grows downwards. A particular tuber can grow both downwards and then it will also still grow sideways. So you need to be very careful. So this is what I was trying to do here. So you need to be very careful. All right, I had to dig around before getting the pattern and the direction of growth, and interestingly I was able to do. But because it has not really fully I can still see that some of the leaves are green, what I did was to actually break off the head in terms of trying to milk it. So that's what I did. Then of course, boom, I brought out the last tuber eventually. So I had to cover the head so that will develop too. So you can see what I was trying to talk about. There is the propensity for it to yield very high. So you take note of that.
So guys, my fifth and last point is that water yam, from my own experience, has a longer shelf life compared to all other yams. It will outlive every other yam. It will outlive them in their seasons. For example, if you are growing both white yam and water yam together, granted that of course water yam it even stays longer. For example, if you are harvesting your white yam around 6 months, your water yam will still stay longer. Let's say you are going to be harvesting at the 7th, 8th, or even the 9th month. And that again, by extension, will help the tuber to live longer than even the white ones. For example, if you have finished selling all your white yams from your barn, your water yam will still remain. And one of the reasons I like water yam in that regard is that the more it stays, the sweeter it becomes. Because by then the water content will reduce, and after you have finished selling all or planting all your white yam, you will still have your water yam to either feed your family or even sell. In fact, it is then that water yam will even be much more expensive. That's one of the reasons you should go ahead to start growing water yam. I'm very sure with these 5 points, at least I've encouraged you enough to start water yam farming. next season. For those of you who plant yams around your compound, water yam is not just only planted in heaps. This is my small sack water yam garden. Of course, you see that they are doing very, very well. Now, for you who love to plant in sack, you can do this. You can plant water yam even in sack. I hope with these few points of mine, I've been able to convince you. All right. God bless you.